So, what I want to discuss is unique to you and unique to myself at some level, but very unique to you. I want to talk about baptism. And instead of having a quasi informal charitable debate and hosting someone who is exclusively, fully, blood, sweat, and tears prescribed to the 1646 Westminster Paedo persuasion, what I like about you in this conversation is there's a very real sense in which you've had each of your feet in both sides of the aisle. And so could you maybe start this conversation by just maybe giving a little bit of, we'll get to the theology, but let's start with maybe your testimony, your pastoral experience in pastoring a Presbyterian church and a Baptist church.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that sometimes with questions like this, we are going to be inescapably shaped and informed by some of our own experience in the Christian community. For me, within the global Christian community, and I often find that people who've had considerable exposure to the global Christian community will nurture a kind of, I hope, a healthy Catholicity when it comes to some of these questions. But I was actually raised in a Baptistic environment because I grew up in the Pentecostal church in England, and which is Baptistic, but my studies took place in an evangelical seminary, not in a Pentecostal seminary. So when I was 18, I actually went to theological college, and there were Reformed professors and scholars there. One of them was a congregational minister, actually, who I found to be the most engaging of the professors. And he introduced me to the Puritans and really introduced me to Reformed thought. And so in the early part of my Christian life, I was exposed to and ended up getting experience in both a Credo Baptist and a Paedo Baptist environment. And, a number of my professors were Paedo Baptist, a number were Credo Baptist. By the time I was 24, and in the sort of after my formal initial part of my formal theological education, I actually was working as an evangelist apologist for an organization in England called Salt Mine Trust, actually, still going. They used creative arts largely in going into schools and colleges and doing evangelism with young people. And my task was to go in with these creative arts teams into schools, prisons, colleges, and share the gospel. And in many of the sort of missions contexts that we were involved with churches, it was with every kind of evangelical Christian community. Some were Credo Baptist, some were Paedo Baptist. And I saw the love of God and the commitment to Christ, and frequently genuine faithfulness to God and his word in all of those environments. And this led on actually to my first pastoral role in my mid-20s. I was actually, you mentioned Presbyterian, it was actually Anglican, it was Reformed Anglican. So my first pastoral role, where I was essentially functioning as the associate pastor, my official title was Director of Evangelism, was at a church in southwest London, which was a Paedo Baptist community. And I felt as comfortable there and as happy there as I had done in any Credo Baptist environment. And so I would say that kind of my initial experience in the early part of my ministry, if I can I'll let you come in here and I'll stop there, maybe move on to Westminster in a moment. But in that early part of my ministry, found myself with a non-sectarian attitude, at least. I had some of my own convictions, but I had a non-sectarian attitude to the baptism issue. In part because it was driven by a passion for evangelism and apologetics, and my priority at that time was not really having to manage disagreements or disputes in the local church around that issue.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate you sharing a little bit of your early ministry experience with us.